Hey guys, what is up? Unrested back. Sorry I missed you last week with a video, but I have been getting quite a bit of requests for this controversy between Oriental Pearl and Chris Abroad. I guess disclaimer before I even start, I have hung out with Chris Abroad before. There was a long time ago, back in 2012 I believe it was, where he did come out to Osaka with Gimme a Break Man and a couple other creators. I don't remember everybody else who was there, but we went to go eat at Shakey's Pizza. I'll never forget it. And he actually told me a plan he had for the future of his channel. A very logical, set out plan he had for two separate channels. I don't know if he ever got the other channel started, but I have seen his main channel, Chris Abroad. I've watched it. I've also watched Oriental Pearl, and I can say I like both channels. They are both two very intelligent people who, they probably know even more about Japan than I do. I'm just going to be frank. I know Oriental Pearl can definitely speak better Japanese than probably both Chris and I, that's for sure. But there's recently been a bit of a beef. And if you want to know whose side I'm going to take, I'm going to say neither. I think they both handled it incorrectly. If you don't know, I guess I'll break it down a little bit, but I say going to watch their videos first is better. I'm not going to put them up on here because I'm just not going to deal with any copyright stuff. Would they strike me down? I don't think so, but you know, I don't like to worry about that when it comes to super big creators to begin with. Oriental Pearl went out and did a video about spray paint in an area of Tokyo that is, it's known to be kind of a little bit of a rundown area. I am not as familiar with Tokyo. I'm no expert on Tokyo. My expertise lies in Osaka, and we do have areas just the same as that are pretty run down. For example, even close to me, my area's not too bad. It's kind of bougie, but next to it, there's an area called Dobutsen Mae, which translates to in front of the zoo. And that is a good translation because it looks like it's in front of the zoo. It is very run down, very depopulated, destroyed. There's actually an alleyway there that is completely taken over by the homeless, and they're on hard times. There's, you know, it's not something I'm going to joke about or make any kind of funnies. Those guys are in a rough situation. A lot of them are out of work due to just the loss of jobs in construction. A lot of them are out of work just because mental illness. There's many different reasons. If I ever wanted to cover a story out there, I would definitely ask for permission to talk to anyone because, I mean, their life already looks so harsh. I don't think they need a camera shoved in their face. Now, what Chris was angry about with Oriental Pearl's video was that, number one, she filmed an area full of spray paint that usually is kind of full of spray paint. It's always kind of had spray paint in that area. If you don't know, like late 90s bubble era pop in Japan was kind of saturated with a lot of spray paint. So that area has always been kind of hard hit by that. The same with Dobutsen Mae in my area, kind of always just covered in spray paint. Yeah, people do try to paint it over. They do try to take care of it, but it's kind of just not really kept up real well to begin with. And as you know, Japan in general is dealing with a lot of economic stresses, no matter where you're filming or talking about. So it's not like everybody just wants to surge for a big bunch of cans of paint and take care of their local neighborhood. You can't really blame the people that live around that area for that kind of thing. And Oriental Pearl doesn't. She doesn't blame anybody for that. She doesn't outright point to someone causing this problem. I think where she kind of goes wrong with her video, and you know, I'm sure this is probably something she'll implement in the future, is although she films that area, she also films a couple homeless people at the same time, just kind of not getting right up in their faces, but just like a little bit to the peripheral of the camera, she films them. And I did see other Japanese YouTube creators who saw that and they're like, why is she including that? That issue is like totally separate from spray paint and vandalism, which they're right. And if they know, it's definitely, you know, the native Japanese people know best what's going on with that situation. I've actually covered some of that homelessness in my past videos, so I understand what they mean when they're saying that's a totally different issue. It is. It's usually dealing with like the teen homelessness in an area like that would be dealing a lot with SA problems at home, CPS not fully able to take care of their situation, drug use, multiple things. It doesn't really, those kids are not the people spray painting that area, is what I'm trying to say. And not that she implied that, but the problem is if you include that, it's left up to the perception of the viewer, and perception is reality, right? So you have to be kind of careful. You also, I feel like, and as I said earlier, I feel like this is probably something she'll start to include in future videos. If you are doing anything on Japan, like a dark side of Japan, I feel it's super important to include sources. If you ever go back and look at a lot of mine, like the Hikikomori video I did, even though recently the one I did with Nagoya, and it's dealing with fentanyl being shipped through there to America, I always make sure to have sources up and list them and talk about where I'm getting my information from. That's ultra important. It's important because, number one, there's going to be angry Japanese people, who are like, why are you, showing our country like this? This isn't totally true. And if you come to them with facts that are from their own sources, like if Tokyo University is one of the sources you put on there, then it's like, well, are you going to discredit your country or an educational institution in your country? Like, which one's wrong? Tell me. I mean, I'll correct it if it is. That's why I came with like FDA reports and stuff when I showed you the Nagoya situation with the shipping of drugs through that area. I always make sure I list those sources. I put them usually in a pinned comment or notes below the video. And I think that would really help Oriental Pearl in the future. Not that she should ever stop making videos about like the dark side of Japan or like things that are going wrong in Japan. But just when you do those, make sure you like list a bunch of sources, especially like if they're government white papers that Japan has done themselves. It's really good to list those, because then even if you get people from, the country itself being angry at you for showing Japan in a bad light, which usually they don't. Like, usually this is not a common thing, but every once in a while you get that. I learned that from the very first video I ever made on the dark side of Japan. Hence, like, I redid those videos, almost all of them, and every time I like brought my sources into it, which they had sources I got the information from to begin with, but I didn't put them in the video, and that's on me, right? So I think in the future she could do that. Now, where I feel like Chris went wrong, and he's a good guy, dude. Like I said, I've met him, I've talked to him, I've hung out with him. He's a good dude. But maybe, Chris, in the future, maybe just stay off Twitter, dude. At first, I thought his response video, it's pretty calm. If you go and watch it, and he's like, I need to speak out about this creator slop and stuff like that, which I think using the title slop is a bit extreme. But his comment originally to Oriental Pearl on Twitter was a bit extreme, saying that like, oh, I've been working really hard on this researched video, but why don't I just go out with a GoPro and film random homeless people and spray paint and talk about how horrible Japan is? That was a bit, that's emotion speaking there. And honestly, I'm guilty of this. Younger unrested definitely did stupid stuff like this. If you really feel like that, I feel like what could be done is, have a dialogue with the creator who you're angry with, which Oriental Pearl did say she was open to having a dialogue. And I feel like that's much more constructive. I get it. You see videos where you're like, why didn't you list sources? Like, why are you just showing this random part of Japan and saying how trash it is and not saying like, the homelessness here isn't connected to it. And, this area's had spray paint all over it for, decades. Why aren't you saying, like, I get his anger. But at the same time, that's not fully expressed in a quick, very sort of snide remark left on Twitch. And, she also mentioned another time where he went after John Dobbs about like how he was angry at him, who's like a pretty calm creator. And like she said there, like if you're angry at John Dobbs, like maybe your anger is like a little bit too much. Maybe Chris does have kind of like a grumpy sort of angry attitude on Twitch. Now, again, I'm not Twitch. I keep saying Twitch, Twitter. Stop, Scott, stop. I I think we're all guilty of that. I think there's certain times where you shouldn't make a video if you're like in a really bad mood or been through a really stressful situation. And if that is the case though, you should like list it during your video. Like if you just went through like the death of a loved one or your job's been super stressful, like you should let people know. Like last night I did a stream and I let people know like I'm on here right now, I'm tired, I'm not feeling great. Because I, just finished a 12.5 hour workday and this work week was really stressful. Just, get people kind of an update so they know where you're coming from. But at the same time, try to stay away from like the emotional lash outs about videos that make you angry. And if you are angry about it, put that video on there, come with sources, list them. Like I've done videos before about BS about Japan, and then I'll bring the sources in as I watch the video. I'll be like, okay, here's where this person's getting this totally wrong. This does not happen in Japan. You need to bring the sources and stuff like that. That's important. Like open a dialogue, bring logic, bring sources, etc. Now, there was some stuff I heard about Chris that I was like, I don't know how much this is true. And if it is true, I'd want to see like proof. Like she didn't outright say it, but she said like his videos need to be like approved by like the local ward office, or like it almost sounded like he needed like government approval for his video to go up. Like they had to look at it before he put it up on YouTube. I don't think that's true. I mean, from what I know of him and his videos and how his channel works, he may have like a producer. I'm sure he goes through editors and stuff like that. But I don't think any like local gov or like local arm of the government, ward office, whatever, district has to look over his videos before he uploads them. Of course, if that's true, like again, I'd want to see proof of that. Like that's, I don't think Chris is territorial. She said he's always been territorial about his videos about Japan. I haven't personally experienced anything like this. I never felt like I saw him ever lash out at anybody that, they shouldn't be covering this topic because it's something he's already covered or this is his area of Japan. Maybe she's saying that because he outright says in his videos, he's like, I used to live in that area she's talking about. Like, I know this area really well. Maybe she means it like in a literal sense, in which case disregard what I'm saying there. But I don't really feel like he is territorial of videos about Japan. What else do we got here? I just made some notes as I listened to I want to be fair and balanced, right? I will say I watched quite a few Japanese responses because I feel like, who should really make the call on like what video best represents Japan than the Japanese themselves. Shohei's one of the people I watch a lot because he's really balanced. He's one of the people who called out like Ubisoft getting like all the historic information about his country wrong in their game. He didn't take a side on it. He also said like there wasn't like a lot wrong with Oriental Pearl's videos. He's like, yeah, that area is like really bad for spray paint and stuff like that. But he said, please also remember, like there was actually a time in Japan where spray paint was far worse at the end of the 90s. And I was thinking the same thing too. I was like, there's been definitely like way worse times in Japan for, vandalism and, after the bubble popped and tons of people lost their job and the youth couldn't find work and like things suddenly plummeted and the economy went to shit. Like, yeah, like there was a lot more vandalism and spray paint during that time. And he also mentioned, and I guess this is why I brought it up too, is that it's good that she shows that homelessness can be a problem in Japan, but if she wants to cover that topic, she should make a separate video about it, which, yeah, I got to kind of agree on that because again, it's not related to the spray paint or the vandalism. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like the best advice to both of these creators is they like don't step on each other's feet. Like just what Chris did was out of line. Like he shouldn't have made his Twitter post. At the same time, Oriental Pearl, you can't ask him to take it down because you're a public figure. We put ourselves out there, we're exposed to it. You can't say, hey, take this down. That's me. It is good that you did say, I'd like to have an open dialogue, and it sounded like you were open to, inviting him onto a stream and having like, I don't know if I want to say a debate, but just like talking openly about like what you think is going wrong with Japan and him too. I think that could be like super constructive. So good on you for bringing that up. I don't feel like you should have drop the C word there at the end. Name calling is never good for open dialogue. So I think you could have done without that, Oriental Pearl. Chris, at the same time, dude, you got maybe delete your Twitter account. Maybe get rid of it. It doesn't sound like it's good for you, dude. It sounds like you can get pretty emotional on there. So I would say that for him too. A lot's changed over the years. There's no J-Vlog community. She is right that it's a very saturated market now. Chris is right that there's a lot of people who do tend to come to Japan and sometimes exploit it as a form of entertainment rather than a culture. I do not feel like Oriental Pearl's channel does that at all. I don't feel like her stuff is slop or she's like out to use Japan as a form of entertainment. I don't feel that whatsoever. There is that video clip he shows of her laughing about an area being more downtrodden or kind of squalid. And while she is laughing, I mean, that's kind of just out of context. I mean, I think she's just like kind of nervously eyeing the situation of a downtrodden area. Like she's kind of shocked and she's laughing out of nervousness. I don't think she's laughing like, ha ha ha, look at all these poor people, bow before me type of situation. So I feel like that's kind of out of context too. Okay, there's the one other thing I see here, I didn't cover this. I heard some people saying that like Chris never ever covers anything negative about Japan, that he's only there to make it look like a paradise. And that's not true either. It sounds like some people didn't watch a lot of his channel. He's got videos on like how TEPCO screwed people over after the earthquake and stuff and just left them with like no house, no electricity for a long time. The Fukushima earthquake is what I'm talking about. He's interviewed people from that. And, of course he asked their permission and everything first. And he also talked about how crappy Japanese TV can be, like how fake it can be sometimes, and how like they would ask him to shoot something over and over and over and over again and like never actually get his real natural reaction to something, and that's super fake. And that you shouldn't believe that Japanese TV is just all these wild game shows and people laughing and having fun, that it's kind of garbage. So yeah, he doesn't always cover Japan in only a positive light. I think he does tend to focus on a more positive, heavy aspect to his channel, which, I think it is good. But there should always be a balance. And I think both of you do that. I think both Oriental Pearl and Chris Abroad do that. I think they both have a balance. They talk about the good and the bad, and that's great. You guys should both keep it up. But I'm saying this as someone having done YouTube now. I had that 17-year anniversary thing come up on my channel a month or two back. I can't remember. So I've done it for 17 years according to YouTube. I feel like, number one, opening a dialogue is always good. I've always asked people who've had a problem with me in recent years to like, let's get on a stream and just like have like a civil conversation about this. Let's not, trade snide remarks. So like I said, Oriental Pearl did suggest this as an idea. Where they both went wrong was like kind of emotionally reacting. Her in her video, Chris in his video too, kinda, and Chris with his Twitter post. Like, come on, Chris. At the same time, Oriental Pearl, you can't tell him to take it down. Like you're a public figure, you gotta just, it sucks, I know. Like I get it, like, especially from a creator that big, but yeah. I think that's a pretty fair and balanced look at it from my situation. I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about this in the comments down below. But until then, I guess just a side note, the video is over, but if you're a longtime viewer, right now, I'm just dealing with a lot in life. So I may be only putting out one video a month for the next couple of months. It's not super serious or anything like that, but just work has been extremely stressful. And I do actually have a couple projects in the work. You may have seen about 2 weeks ago, I did put out my very first video game. I'm very proud. I finally learned how to program in Python, and I am currently doing that with another game, and hoping to have that be another benefit to this channel. My members who pay the $1.90 a month for, I'd like to be able to offer stuff like that they could play the games for free that I make. I want to get back to getting them more videos. I'm so sorry, members, and thank you so much for staying a member. I haven't lost a single member, even though I've been delinquent on members videos, I think going on 3 months now, which is awful. Usually I had one every week, so that's bad. I'm sorry. I feel really guilty about it. I'm not gonna lie. But I know a lot of you are like long-term viewers. Like everybody who watches here is like a long-term viewer, so you kind of understand the ups and downs I've gone through in the past. I'm afraid if I try to keep pushing one video a week right now, just right now, I may burn myself out. So I'm gonna try and stick to at least one video a month. And then once things finally calm down, and they will, I do see an end in the future for the stress that I'm dealing with at work, I'll get back to one a week. And I'll get back to my members videos as well. I'm also taking like a lot of classes right now. I don't know if you guys know I'm a teacher, right? Well, to keep your license in America, you do have to constantly do college classes. I'm doing 2 separate classes right now while also studying for a test I have to take to keep my license. I don't have to pass it for like 3 years, but I'm the kind of person who starts getting anxious 3 years ahead of time. So that's been on my mind. So just bear with me. I just want to be open and honest to let you know why there's been a lapse in videos. I will continue to do the live streams. I have been able to keep up one live stream every Friday. Even yesterday when I came home from a 12.5-hour shift, I love to talk to you guys on those. Like, it's like hanging out with friends, and I really appreciate that. You guys really brighten up a hard week. And I'll always be so thankful for that. Anyway, guys, till next time, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Unrested out.